Hey everyone, Matt here with the Relief Valve podcast. Haven't set anything up for a couple of days. We've just had the flu going around the house, and it's just kind of been taking the family out, and it's been a little tough. But wanted to come back with an update and get ready for the shitbag roundup tomorrow. And check this out. We're gonna get into it.
Invest form for Democratic candidates is facing intense scrutiny. Attorneys general from Virginia and Missouri, along with the Wyoming Secretary of State, have launched investigations. These investigations stem from allegations of a complex money laundering scheme. The allegations suggest Actblue may have funneled money from illegal sources into Democratic campaigns. These accusations have raised concerns about the integrity of campaign finance in the digital age. The investigations are still in their early stages. However, the allegations are serious enough to warrant a thorough investigation. The outcome could have far-reaching implications for Actblue and online political fundraising.
Aw, I was just looking for backgrounds and this came up. Is this nice? Is this nice to talk about bad news? Look at this pretty picture for you to look at. Okay, so Actblue is the primary donating platform for the Democratic Party. The Republicans have WinRed. I've donated to that before. The equivalent to that on the Democratic side is Actblue. Now, you might have heard recently about some issues coming up with Actblue. More specifically, the forest fires in and just the overall fires in California. You'll remember that old Pocahontas, Massachusetts, Elizabeth Warren, was soliciting donations to help people in California that were affected by the fires. But if you'll also remember that some of the donations, there was fine print in there that said that a portion of the donations will be donated directly to Actblue. So if you wanted to help people in California, you were also inadvertently helping the Democratic Party. Now, by the way, also to mention that all three attempted assassins donated to Actblue. So the kid that was on the roof in Pennsylvania donated to Actblue. He gave at least $15, if not more. The Ukraine nut job that waited at Trump's golf course, another donor to Actblue. He'd given a couple of different times. And third and certainly not least, the guy that drove the truck through the crowd in New Orleans, former soldier, Actblue donor. And there were records to prove that all three of them donated to Actblue, because these places, WinRed and Actblue, have to track financially all the donations that come in. There has to be accountability for all of it. Now, they are facing fraud here. They're facing that they've been embezzling money, that they have been making up donations and using people's names in order to clarify the donations. And then there were some elderly people in Florida and other places, and then they were asked to account for their donations. Some of them making several donations a day, up to a couple of $1,000s. When these elderly taxpayers were asked, "Did you make these donations to Actblue?" We're just trying to account money donated to the people that it came from. They said they never made those donations. So what did the Democrats do? They made up people's names and then funneled money into Actblue as donations. Now, I wonder where that money came from. Maybe a USAID or another NGO. We're looking at a whole pattern of embezzling and money laundering, potentially with the Democratic Party. So think of this. Think of a whole bunch of government money is put into USAID. And then USAID ends up giving it to all of these NGOs, non-government organizations that are like non-profits. You've heard that bullshit about non-profits who are actually profit. It's just how they file their tax exemption. But these non-profits can turn around after they've gotten this money from USAID and then make donations to Actblue, to the Democratic Party. Now, I'll ask you something else. Is it just me, or have you noticed that all of the left's bullshit protests, their stupid drum banging and their stupid songs and everything that they do seems a little lackluster lately? Have you noticed that the groups aren't quite as big as they used to be? I've noticed that. Pepperidge Farm has noticed that. And one of the other stories that came out during the corrupt Biden regime was proof that some of these rioters were being paid for by groups. So organizers were being paid to put all of these left-wing idiots together in order to show up at a particular area as a sign of solidarity and all protest together in very large numbers. And then you started finding out that there was money being funneled into that. Sometimes even allegedly George Soros backed money. Now we're looking at Actblue, and I'm going to read into you what exactly is happening here. A couple of people have either already fired or been resigned within Actblue, and now there's internal investigations going on about how and where this money is coming from. But it's interesting. You remember during the Black Lives Matter riots when pallets of bricks would just show up in the city? And Joe Rogan was doing a podcast. He was talking to Ian Carroll, the other guy that does... He started off on TikTok, and he's gotten big now, and he looks into, conspiracy theories and these businesses and their money and everything. And Joe Rogan was making the point that bricks are expensive, especially in large numbers. Construction companies don't tend to leave them lying around at construction sites on perfectly set up pallets so that they can be stolen or broken overnight before they're used. But you remember during the Black Lives Matter Antifa riots, perfectly set up pallets of bricks were being placed out in certain areas of the city so that those rioters could use them to smash windows and buildings and throw them at people. Awfully convenient. Stuff like that costs money. Bricks aren't free. So now you start to see where this money trail is starting to coalesce into something. Let me get into this here. So the Actblue Democratic fundraising powerhouse faces internal chaos. At least 7 senior officials have left the group, setting off deep concerns about its future as it confronts scrutiny from congressional Republicans. Actblue, the online fundraising organization that powers Democratic candidates, has plunged into turmoil, with at least 7 senior officials resigning late last month and a remaining lawyer suggesting he faced internal retaliation. The departures from Actblue, which helps raise money for Democrats running for office at all levels of government, came as the group is under investigation by congressional Republicans. They have advanced legislation that some Democrats warn could be used to debilitate what is the party's leading fundraising operation. The exodus has set off deep concerns about Actblue's future. Last week, 2 unions representing the group's workers sent a blistering letter to Actblue board of directors that listed the 7 officials who had left. The letter described an alarming pattern of departures that was eroding our confidence in the stability of the organization. Now, this is the New York Times, so of course this is coming from a left-wing slant. What they're basically saying here is they're all leaving without fully understanding why it is that they're leaving here. Now, let me find another. So here's another part. Investigation into Actblue by Attorney General Ken Paxton uncovers large number of suspicious donations made through obscured identities, which is what I told you about the elderly folks, and untraceable means. OAG demands FEC action. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton sent a petition for rulemaking to the Federal Election Commission detailing how suspicious actors appear to be using Actblue's political fundraising platform to make a large number of straw political donations. In December of 23, Attorney General Paxton opened an investigation into Actblue to determine whether the platform's operations were compliant with all applicable laws. In August of 24, Attorney General Paxton announced that due to investigation, Actblue began requiring donors using credit cards to provide a CVV codes, which is what most of us have to do, a common security measure. But this is not a full solution to the problems that Attorney General Paxton's team has identified on Actblue. Namely, it appears that straw donations are systematically being made using false identities through untraceable payment methods. So, and again, with those elderly people whose names were used, one woman would make 5 donations a day, apparently under this woman's name. And she'd say she had no knowledge of it. And others would make 5 to 10 donations a day, as if they were taking money from other places and then making donations to Actblue under names they had taken from whatever registry in order to attempt to cover their bases and saying, oh, this was just a Democratic supporter that sent all this. So more information is going to be coming out about this. I've got the shitbag roundup tomorrow. And once again, it starts to explain where these scumbag Democrats have been getting all this money all these years.